and gentlemen, you are listening to Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. It's an engaging and enlightening talk show on life, relationships, and the business of life. Grab a cup of juice and just chill. Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. Live life. Live fully.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
This is Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen, and I'm your host, Omobola Stephen, on the show. Remember, this podcast really focuses on self-development and personal improvement topics with the occasion of expert and professionals who come to the show to share their insights on topics and subjects under personal development. Now, today, I'm thrilled to have Raamon Newman on the show with me. Now, Raamon Newman is the co-founder and CEO at Mavericks, right? A renowned coaching and mindset firm, which has helped leaders protect and enhance their team's achievements and progress to optimize their mental capacity and leadership skills. Hi, Raamon, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Omobola. Fantastic to be here. Looking forward to a very positively disruptive conversation with you about self-improvement and leadership and mindset.
Sure. I love that line, disruptive. Now, I'm looking forward to that. So let's kick that show started. Raamon, how do leaders influence organization effectiveness?
Well, there's a great saying that, has been around for a while, and it's that culture eats strategy for breakfast. You may have heard of it. And that's true. A good culture, harmonious people within themselves, working with harmoniously other people, creates a great culture, right? A cooperative, coherent culture. And then that allows the best strategies and ideas to come to the surface and to be executed on. Now, it's great. It's a great saying. It's very truthful. But on another level, how do we really enhance the culture? And we can't really enhance the culture unless we enhance the mindset. And we can't really enhance the mindset unless we enhance the consciousness and the awareness and the brain functioning, the degree of coherence in the brain of the individuals. So I have a new saying that kind of elaborates on culture eats strategy for breakfast, and that is consciousness and mindset eats culture and strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so if we want to have a more effective organization, then there has to be individuals, and especially the leaders who have the most significant influence on the decision-making and the performance of the company. They have to be developing their consciousness and their mindset. And that is what allows an individual to be more coherent. It allows them to develop what they've found in neuroscience to be world-class brain functioning. And what that means is that there's a lot of coherence and orderliness in the brain functioning, that there's a coherence between the amygdala, which is in the limbic lower part of the brain, which gives us our impulses to act, and the prefrontal cortex, which is like the CEO of the brain. This 30% front part of the brain is what allows us to make very clear strategic decisions. Now, if this is stressed, and this is tired, and this is fatigued, or this is not coherent, then what happens is poor decisions are made. You don't see the possibilities. You don't see the threats. You're not able to avert the problems before they arise. You're not able to see the opportunities as they arise. So as an individual develops their consciousness, develops their mindset, their brain becomes more coherent, more orderly, and they've found that world-class athletes and business leaders and musicians, when they're performing at their best, they're making their best decisions, they have a lot of what they call global alpha coherence in their brain functioning. Now, what that means in layman's terms is that they see the bigger picture, and they also see the finer details on how best to fulfill that bigger picture, that vision in their mind. So the more that we can develop an individual and their brain functioning, then the more that's going to translate into creating a better culture, a more harmonious, coherent culture, which creates better strategy, which creates better performance in business, more effectiveness.
Right. Now, you emphasize mindset, right? And I believe that that's very important, right? So how does it affect leadership?
Well, it affects it in a way that, we have to be sure that we're making a decision based on we're perceiving the right truth, right? Because we all know at the end of the day, truth always triumphs. So if we have a mindset that we are acting and we're making decisions based on what is truthful, and what is truthful is what is good for the whole, right? It's not just good for you and me or a few people. It's good for the whole organization. It's good for the whole planet. It's good for the whole country. And so the more that we can have this more developed evolutionary mindset that we're doing and making decisions and acting based on what's good for the whole, then naturally, we're going to make decisions that are going to be life supporting, that are going to uplift the whole. They're going to uplift ourselves as well in the process. They're not going to cause damage to ourselves, either our health or wealth or happiness or relationships.
Right. Thank you for that submission. Now let's talk about the ingredients of leadership. We talk about direction, protection, and order. Why is this critical to effective and successful leadership?
Yeah, very good question. So obviously, negativity exists in the world. Negativity is a part of life. Now, that doesn't mean we have to suffer from negativity. Negativity is simply there to remind us to come back to truth, to come back to coherence, to come back to ourselves, to come back to a truthful mindset. And so the more that we can become coherent from within, then the more we keep negativity at bay. Negativity can be extremely powerful and strong, and it can show up like that, but it's inherently weak. So as soon as we become strong and more coherent from the inside, then naturally we're able to avert negativity. We're able to keep it at bay. We're not being so affected by it. So we have this experience, we've had certain experiences where the world goes through some turmoil. There's a destructive thing that happens. It happened in 2007, 2008 with the global financial crisis. It's happening in the pandemic. And it's a sign that life, nature, is giving us a signal that we're off track. We're not making the most evolutionary decisions and actions. So therefore, we have to enliven this quality of protection. Now, protection is not something I'm talking about in terms of security system or a surveillance system or a legal contract or insurance contract. Those are all useful, but they're reactionary protection. They're after the fact, after something has happened, when it's generally too late and costs and loss of time and money and energy have already been incurred. So the protection I'm talking about is the protection that allows you to proactively avert the problem before it arises. So if we're healthy and strong, we have a strong mind, we have a strong nervous system, we have a strong immune system, then naturally we're able to take care of negativity, we're able to dissolve it, we're able to neutralize it before it has a damaging influence on us. So in 2007, 2008, I had come out of being a monk for 10 years. And I went to New York City to do an acting program to reintegrate to the world. And I have my own story in terms of, why I became a monk, and I'll get to that in a second. But basically, I went to New York City to kind of integrate back into the world, take the experience that I have of developing myself at a very deep level, meditating 8 hours a day, 7 days a week for 10 years, and coming back into the world and wanting to serve the world, but wasn't sure how I was going to serve the world. So I just did this acting program to take all this inner connection I had to myself and, develop creating connection with others. And great acting is about great connection. And so I was there in New York City and I was having a great time doing this acting program. I ended up being there for a couple of years, 2007, 2008, just doing acting, training and performing. And the global financial crisis was going on around me. And I could see the stress in the city, the stress on people's faces as they were laid off, they were uncertain about their future. And it got me thinking is why did these very smart, very intelligent business leaders cause a financial calamity for themselves, for their businesses, and for the world? And it made me realize that they had the same problem that I did. I burned out as an athlete in my late teens, early 20s, trying to qualify for the World Junior Championships and the 1500 meters. And I was very focused on achieving that goal. I was all about the training, all about putting in the effort. And my coach at the time, who was actually an Olympic gold medal winning coach, he said to me, if you keep up your progress and your training and you stay healthy, there's no reason why you can't go to the Olympics. And I thought, great. So I was all in on that. And I missed qualifying for the World Junior Championships by a couple of seconds. And I got very sick. I had a lot of digestive problems, a lot of respiratory problems, kept me up most nights for over 6 months. I literally became an insomniac. I became depressed. And I realized, how come I was putting in all the action, all the effort, and I still wasn't able to hit my goal? And the reason why is because I was developing myself on the outside, but I wasn't developing myself on the inside. I wasn't knowing how to know when to do enough training and not do too much training, when to rest, when to recover properly. And my body literally broke down. So the same thing happened with the global financial crisis, as all these leaders were making these decisions that were based on outer development, outer achievement. And some of them were based on greed and vanity and lust and all these vices that really can cause us to cause a problem for ourselves and others. And so that made me realize at that point in time that, my purpose is to help leaders with their inner development so that they can come from a place of fulfillment and not just thinking that the goal of life is achievement, right? Because achievement comes and goes. A fulfillment is something that we get to keep and maintain. And the more that we can come from a place of fulfillment, which means we're content and happy and fulfilled and at peace in our mind and our heart, and we know who we are and we know what our purpose is, then naturally achievement is a byproduct of being in that fulfilled state. We call that state the leadership state. And this is where we're able to make decisions that are good for ourselves, good for others, and we're able to protect. And this is ideally what a great leader does. A great leader is able to protect the progress of themselves, their team, their people, and the world. And if a leader is able to do that, they are a great leader. If they can't do that primary duty of a leader to protect, then they're not really a leader, right? They're all about themselves, and ultimately it'll lead to destruction in some way, shape, or form.
Right. Thank you for that. Now, the question is, why should a leader care, or why should a leader care about mental health? Is it that serious? Is it that important?
Why should they care? They should care because ultimately everybody is an extension of ourselves. So whatever we do to others, we're also doing to ourselves, right? And some leader may be doing something that's not good for themselves or others, and they may think, it's okay. But if it's not good, then ultimately it'll show up at some point in the future, right? And so leaders can't lead without having people who want to support them in their vision, right? So leaders require people to lead. And so if they're not prepared to take care of them and treat them well and protect them and help them progress, then they're ultimately not going to fulfill their vision, because nobody, as we all know, we can't do the life by ourselves. We have to do it with other people. We have to be in collaboration and cooperation with other people. So this is why leaders have to really put people first. And we've found that a company can have a really great product. They can have the best product in the market. But if they're not taking care of their people and developing their people, or developing the mindset of their people, then that product's not going to actually work. You can actually have a company with a better culture around people, around developing better mindset, and not have the best product, but they can still outperform a company with a better product. Because at the end of the day, people are buying products from a company because they feel good about that company and how that company operates and how that leader expresses themselves and the values that they have.
Right. Now, talking about putting people first, right? And that's very important, especially in organization, effectiveness and success. Now, for leaders to function properly, their followers need powers too. I want to ask you this question. Is this assertion valid enough?
You mean powers, responsibilities?
That's right. Like for leaders to function properly, right? Their followers also need powers too. So I'm asking you this question, is this assertion, is it valid?